Alright, I'm going to see if this helps you any. I'm going to use the analogy of food to explain cross sections and sectionals and hatching. So let's start off with something with the hamburger, because I know you've all picked up one of these. We're going to do a cross section of the hamburger. So that means we're going to do a full cross section. We're going to cut it in half and we're going to remove part of it. So the angles are telling us we're removing this part. So we're cutting, part we're keeping, part's going away. So we're going to draw this. So, and I'm just going to really rough sketch it. So here's like my top view of a hamburger, your frontal plane, right? Or horizontal plane. And I've already brought the lines down. I found my center line. I'm just going to transfer some of these measurements just real quick, because I'm not going to have a perfect sketch, but I still want something that's at least going to be proportional. Because you got your lettuce, we got the tomato, we have a very thin cheese. The hamburger bun, it's the patty itself, and then the bun. So all I did is I just transferred all those down here real quick, and I'm going to draw the lines across. And they're not going to be perfect, but it's just right now just a guideline. Lettuce and tomato, onions, cheese, the patty, the bun. Okay, so I've transferred my width, my dimensions, and I'm just going to try to rough sketch it so it looks something like the example again here. That's all I was using this for, is to get me something so I could recreate it where it looks somewhat like it does up there in the top, so you would understand. Okay, we're gonna say tomato layer, onion layer here comes in a little bit more. Then we have our slice of cheese. Then we have the patty itself. Then the bun. So I've roughly sketched what it would look like in that frontal plane, your front view. So here is our bun. We've cut through it. Now this is where your cross section and your hatching comes in. So each one of these pieces is a different part that we've cut through. So it's going to have a different hatch. So for tomato, there's really not one for tomato, so I'm just going to make one up, and I'm going to say we're going to use the cross hatch for it. I'm going to darken these in before I go back in. So you darken those visible lines that we've cut through. And then you use your 0.7, come back and do the hatches with it. So I'm going to say that tomato is just going to be the generic hatch. Let's say onion is going to be the dots. Usually used for concrete, but I'm just trying to pick a different one so we can see. The point of the hatching is so that you can know that that's different parts of the object. The cheese, I'm going to and I'm doing a very rough sketch here. There's tons of hatches out there. There's probably about 100 different hatches. You're not supposed to memorize them all, at least you know to go look for them. You can find out what it is. Okay, I'm going to use this one's actually the rubber hatch, but it'll work for this. Notice I'm keeping them all on a 45. Now I have a question for you. The bun on the top and the bun on the bottom, are they made of the same material? And the answer is obviously yes. So with that being the case, you would have the exact Same hatching style for the bottom. And it should continue and line up with what essentially you have in the top. And these sketches are not perfect because they're not perfectly 45, they're not perfectly lined up, and they are not touching all the edges like they should. Okay, let's see the hamburger patty itself. Let's do, oh, I don't know. Trying to decide what hatch to use for it. And that can be the hard part, is figuring out which flipping hatch you're going to use. I'll use electric. One of the few times, or it doesn't go to 45. So what I've done is I've cut this with a knife so that I can see what it looks like. I have each one of those parts shown up as different, and they each have a hatch depending on the type of the material that they are. So there's a hamburger. Okay. Let's try a birthday cake. Same thing, same principle. Okay, on this birthday cake, however, we're only going to do a half section. We're not doing a full section. So I'm only cutting through here and here. So I'm cutting out this slice of this part of it and removing it so we can see through. So let's bring those down real quick. And no, I do not have this tape down. I'm not doing any of that. Just doing a rough representation to try to get the point across to you what you do here. Okay, so we have approximately the top part of the cake, the middle part of the cake, and the base part of the cake. So let's just say they're three all the same size. Okay, so we have cut through there. So here's our cutting line. We cut our knife through here and remove this piece, like a really giant big piece of the cake. Scroll that frontal view. When we look at the frontal plane, what do we see? Now I want you to notice that right now I didn't bring it to the inside pieces yet because I'm fixing to explain that cutting part. I'm just doing the outside outline visible. Okay, so we have cut here to here, remove this piece. Instead of having a center line now, you're going to have a visible line down the middle because this is the part that's been cut. Here's what it looks like from the outside, my different layers. Then I have what do I see on the inside. What I see on the inside is a bunch of cake. Now I do essentially would have icing in between the middle of the pieces of it. So we're going to say that my icing goes here. And then my icing goes here. So there's my icing, right? Take your 45 and draw hatch marks. And then so forth. Because what we're doing with the hatch marks, it's showing hey, this is what we cut through with the knife. They should come touch the edge. Not go outside the edge. Just be nice and neat. So I see some of mine are going out. Those are not what it should be. I would rough sketch these and then go back and finalize them. Make them look neater. Notice the cake has the exact same hatch. Well, it's the same material. Since this hash is the same material, and then I would same material for the icing, just to show you. And yes, technically we would have probably show the icing and come in here. Tell I'm not a cake baker, but I know that there's icing in here. And so there's your cake. So this one's a half because it's pulled through here, so it's cut and showing that part. This part shows normal, like you would normally see when you're looking in the front of the view, that frontal plane. The part that's cut has your hatch marks showing that it's going through. And if it was a hollow cake for some reason, like something was going to pop out of it, you've got a friend that likes to explode things on you, you might even show like that hollow part would be cut out here with no hatch marks because it's obviously hollow, so thus you can't cut anything that has air. It has to have a mass for you to cut it. And you could show that there. All right. Very good.